Alright, there's the finished product, what we're going to be shooting for the final product to look like. Pick it up here and try to get the focus. Get a better look here. There we go. So what I was going for was to kind of go for like a cracked earth with the lava kind of seeping through, and then kind of have maybe like a look of dried lava rock there where maybe it was already solidified some. So I really like the way this turned out. So let's get into what we're going to need for the first step. Alright, of course, for the first thing you're going to need some bases. Really any sizes that you're going for. Next thing, you'll need some technical paint, hard coat. Another technical, the Agrelian Earth. That's how you say it, yeah. Agrelian Earth. And then texture, the Astro Granite. You can really use any texture, really. This is just one of the more available colors. I know they're redoing all their texture paints right now, so but that one would work just fine. And then of course some kind of tool to scoop the technical and the texture out and put onto the base. Alright, so for step one, we're going to take a base here and the Ard Coat. Now what the Ard Coat's going to do is kind of give a better surface for the Agrelian Earth to hold on to. Found if you just go straight Agrelian Earth on the base here, when it dries, some of the bigger chunks are going to want to flake off. So it just kind of gives a little more, I don't know, kind of a holding power, almost like a glue, if you will, for this to attach to. So I'm pretty liberal with it. I put a good amount on here, just to coat the whole base, because each base I do a little bit different pattern with the different textures and technical paints. So it's just better just to coat the whole base and then go from there. So now just let that dry, and once it's dry, then we'll go on to the next step. Alright, so for this next part, we're going to use the texture Astro Granite, as well as the technical Agrelian Earth. Now you can kind of use these kind of either or. Like you can use this one first if you want, and this one. I find it's easier if you use this first and then this, because the Astro Granite will kind of help create the borders for the Agrelian Earth. The first thing, as you can see, the base isn't quite dry yet with the Lamian or the Ard Coat, but that's alright. You don't need it to be completely dry. Just it's dry enough right now that I can apply these two layers without worrying about it. And it's kind of a little bit better if it's still a little wet, just because then it will help with the Agrelian Earth become that kind of glue. So I got a good amount here of the Astro Granite, and I'm just gonna put it, just basically start putting it right on the base here, and kind of just start spreading it around. And next step is I'm going to add the Agrelian Earth. I'll clean up the tool here. My excess Astro Granite off. And then basically do the same thing. I'm going to give this a good shake. Alright. And now we'll start putting this in here. As I had said before, it creates that nice border that you can kind of use to kind of just dab in where you want it. Now with this Agrelian Earth, the thicker on you put it, the bigger the cracks and like the bigger, I guess you could say kind of the chunks of earth will be left over. If you put it on really thinly, it's going to be really fine cracks. It's going to make it really hard to kind of get in between there to do that lava effect that we want to achieve later on. But you know, it's still possible to do it with the smaller cracks, but it is, like I said, it can be a lot harder to achieve. But to each their own. Sometimes, you know, you just want a little bit of effect, maybe. You don't want like a huge lava field. So, all right. So there we have this step done. Now the next step is just to let it dry. Probably let it dry overnight to get the good cracking, because you want this to crack all the way through before we start the next step. Okay, now that that's dry, you can kind of see what it looks like. It looks pretty good. So you have that kind of nice transition, kind of breaking through lava flow type of deal. So now the next step is you need to coat the whole thing in black. Now I just use the Chaos Black spray that GW has. You can use a brush too. It's just going to take a little bit longer. The spray is just really quick. Spray the whole area. You know, don't put a huge, like, two coat. You don't want to, you know, just like when you undercut your models, you don't want to get the coat too thick. So yeah, just spray it real quick, and then we'll move on to the next step. So let me go do that. We'll be right back. All right. So the other base that we just primed in the black is still drying. I have a few other bases that I had already primed up and have ready. So as you can see the detail here on this one. So for this step, we're going to start painting in the lava. You can use really kind of any shades of reds you want. Kind of go for the brighter reds just to kind of help make it stick through a little bit more. So I use the Evil Sunz Scarlet for the red. For orange, I use the Fire Dragon Bright, and for yellow, I use the Flash Gitz Yellow. So, first thing you do is you want to take your red, and that's going to be your kind of base layer here. For the brush, I am using the new Citadel small layer brush here. You could use the artificial one if you wanted to, but for this, I'm just going to go with the small layer. Alright, so first thing we want to do is you kind of see all the little cracks and everything. You just want to kind of take your brush and just kind of slowly start to go through. I gotta find the bigger openings first and kind of go in between. Kind of get some of that big amount of paint off. And then just kind of work it in there, into the cracks around it, taking your time. Now it's okay to kind of get it on some of the rocks. You're gonna paint over it a little bit anyway. And it also looks kind of good, like maybe the lava is seeping up out of onto those rocks, or splashing out onto them. So this step can be a bit tedious. It takes time, but it's definitely the key element to this technique here. Show you something I like to do for the really small cracks. So you can see it gets a lot smaller. So for that, I'll actually kind of pretty much just paint the whole rocks, but mostly forcing the brush down in between those cracks, just because I want to, you don't want just the lava to look like it's just around the big rocks, because that really wouldn't make a whole lot of sense then. So just kind of force it down as much as you can into those smaller cracks, because we're going to come through later with black again on our brush this time. and we'll touch up all the rocks and make it really nice and neat. Okay, so I finished up with the red. Got all the red in there where I want. Now, I haven't cleaned up any of the rocks yet with any of the black, because we're going to continue on, do our orange and then our yellow. Then we're going to go back through and clean it up. So now with the orange, now you're not going to do everything with the orange all over. You're just kind of pick and choose areas. But this is no real right or wrong. It's more, you just want to kind of put a few here, there, kind of feel it out and see how it looks after you've added some here and there. So I'm going through, add a little through here, kind of have it snake through a little bit, give it a little bit of life to it, like maybe it's flowing around some, and it coming through the middle. So maybe there's something bubbling up in the middle there. Alright, so you see I kind of added a little bit in there. Kind of adds that extra layer to it. Now it's still gonna, at this level right now, it's kind of like, well, alright, it looks okay, but it's not quite complete. Once we touch it up with that black, it makes all the difference. Alright, so now onto the yellow. So with this, you kind of want to use it as your highlight color for the orange. Now you can use it on its own in other areas, but primarily I kind of just use it in with the orange because that's the next transition color for it. Now you don't want to cover up all the orange, just do a little bit, so that way maybe the center of the orange or the lines that you're doing . Alright, so that looks pretty decent. Alright, so now we're going to use the black to touch it up, and it's going to help bring it all together. Okay, now let's move into the step that's really going to bring this whole base together. You just can go around to each one, kind of just touch up the edges some. Now on the smaller ones here, I'm just going to use the side of my brush. Just touch the tops. Kind of in a way, kind of dry brushing in a way, I suppose. Alright, so there it is, all cleaned up. Looks pretty good. Now we're going to do a dry brushing. Now you can do different types of dry brushing, as in you can do from here, go to a darker gray, like Eshin gray, up to a Dawnstone, or you can just, like I'm just going to take Dawnstone, do a quick light brush over it, and we'll get our next effect. So, alright, so the next one, like I said, I'm going to use the Dawnstone. I'm actually going to be using the large dry brush from Citadel. Why? Just because it's a lot easier to cover the surface area. I can do it very lightly. Now there is the new dry range of Citadel paints. They have, for this I think it's a Longbeard gray or a Terminus stone would probably work. I don't have either one of those yet. I do plan on getting them, but right now I'm just going to use the old dry brush method of Put a little paint on the dry brush. So I got that much right there. Focus it, it's not too much. And we're just gonna lightly go over. And we're just gonna dry brush here and pick up on all the raised edges. Looks pretty good. Alright, so I'll be using the Bloodletter glaze, and even though I'm using the glaze, I will be using the medium shade as the brush I have right now. I don't have the other glaze brushes, I have a small glaze. But yeah, the medium glaze over kind of has a lot on there, and so I'm going to be very liberal with it. We're going to use this. It should hold enough at one time. Like I said, we'll just go in, get a nice big old dab of it, and just start working it in. It's just going to cover the whole base, but primarily I want to go over the lava areas. Okay, so the Bloodletter has dried, and you could just leave it like that. I mean, it looks pretty good, and you could be done. I'm actually gonna just add that extra dry brush, and there it is. It's all finished. So hope you learned and you enjoy these bases. I definitely think they're pretty cool and a great way to do lava bases, and really actually fairly simple. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and until next time.